Good morning, everyone. Just doing a quick video prior to Thanksgiving. I hope everyone has a great turkey day on Thursday. But I thought I would show you my technique for rusting on paper and cheesecloth. I use these materials a lot in my art journaling and on canvas work. They're just a great thing to have in your studio on your craft shelf to grab from if you like that rusty goodness. And it's really easy. Probably the hardest thing is if you don't already have some metal pieces, steel or iron pieces that are already started to rust. It's just going to take longer. If you have pieces that have already started to rust, like something like this that already has some surface rust on it, it's going to be a really fast process. Everything you need is probably in your kitchen sink and right in your art room. I like to use 140 pound watercolor paper, and I just use regular old cheap. The cheaper the better, because you like it to pull apart and be fringy. Cheesecloth. So let's get started. In the spray bottle I just have a mixture of water and regular household vinegar. I like to use about 3/4 vinegar to 1/4 of water. Some people will use half and half or even straight vinegar. If you're starting with metal that has no rust on it, you might want to start with straight vinegar to give it a boost. So I just take my bottle. You can tell I've used this tray for this before. Give it a good coating of the mixture on the bottom. Lay your paper in. Spray your paper. And then just start laying in your pieces. I'm fortunate because my dad left behind when he passed an awful lot of metal pieces in his machine shop, so I have grabbed them and am taking full advantage. Just give everything just a little push down to make sure that it's making good contact. If you don't have a plastic tray like this, just use the bottom of a tote or a cookie sheet, anything that will hold the water in and big enough to accommodate what you're putting in there. Speaking of being big enough to accommodate, I'm running out of room here. You can see some of the rust right there is already just even coming off. This cool old bed spring. I just want that circle is all I'm going to get, really. Just whatever's touching the paper. So, and then give everything a good bath of the vinegar water. Then if you want to, and that's all you need if you're just going to do your paper. If you want to do the cheesecloth too, you want to open it up. Open it up. There we go. And then I just put it in a ball in my hand, hold it over the tray, and saturate it. Thoroughly saturated. Doesn't have to be wringing wet because we're going to spray it yet again after we wrap it around some of these pieces. So I'm going to wrap up this spring. And let go this piece. lay it across these pieces. Just like that. And you can use more cheesecloth. You can wrap everything. Something cool if you wrapped it around there. I also have this cool iron handle, but I don't really have a lot of room left. Let's see. Maybe we can fit it in here. We can get something off of that. There we go. Okay. Then it's just one more dousing to get everything dripping wet. Now if you're like me and have a tendency to forget about things, you're going to want to let this sit at least 24 hours. Then come back and check and see how it's progressing. If you're not getting a whole lot of rust, spray it down real good again and let it sit another 24 hours. These are going to go really fast. I've used them before, so I know that they'll work. But the key is keeping it wet, and because I oftentimes forget to come back and check, I just like to put some extra vinegar solution right in the bottom of the tray. And don't worry about your paper. If you use the 140-pound watercolor paper or a heavy mixed media paper, it's not going to disintegrate. Let's move that solution around a little bit, make sure everything is covered. Okay, then you want to just sit this the way it is, out of the way somewhere where it's warm and dry. And like I say, come back in 24 hours and check the progress. And then let it go another day or two or three or four. I mean, it's just sitting there, right? The only thing you have to do is make sure that you keep it wet. So check on it once a day. If it needs to get resprayed, do that and just let it go until you got the rust that you need. This sat for 24 hours. It didn't take very long because everything was really good and rusty to start with. But this is the yumminess that came off on the cheesecloth. And you can see where it wasn't touching. It's lighter and softer and prettier. Some of the metal gives a more, I can put it down here where you can see. Some of the metal gives a blacker type of rust. Some gives a more orange, typical type of rust. But I think it's just gorgeous, but because I love rust. But yeah, that's the cheesecloth. And then I've already used part of this paper because it's yummy. So I ripped a piece off of here. But you can see the little cogs and washers, the S-hook, the bottom of the spring. Here's the rusty heart, the spring, another washer. Some are just a little more faded, which is fine because that's great for like background. But you could paint on this. There is a little bit of rust that will come off, so I usually spray it with Krylon Workable Fixative, and that takes care of that problem. And then you can paint right on top of this. You can tear it up and use it for collage. There's just so many possibilities. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And when you're done with your turkey, go make some art. Bye.